Alright guys, BLM here, back with a new video, and in this video, I'll be talking about who I think can be cast on Survivor 42. Now, this is not a video I intended on making anytime soon. I did not think that we would be already at the point where we're talking about another all-star season of Survivor, but here we are. So essentially, if you don't know what happened, Redman, the trusted Survivor spoiler, did say that Season 41 does look like it's going to be a newbie season. However, Season 42 is looking like it's going to be another all-star season, more than likely second chance too. Now obviously the theme itself isn't confirmed yet, we don't really know that, but considering we're at the point where, again, another all-star season's possibly happening, I feel like we might as well talk through who could be on that cast. And I said this before, I was pretty confident that Second Chance 2 was 100% happening around Season 44. I definitely thought it was happening soon. I did not anticipate 42. I thought 42 was a bit early. Obviously, we're going to have just come off of Winners at War. And now we don't know, actually. Maybe this All-Star season could be 41. Obviously, that's what happened with Cambodia, where Cambodia, while it was filmed as the 32nd season, it aired as the 31st. And if we're going to end up doing a ballot vote once again, I could very likely seeing this Season 42 actually becoming Season 41. And I feel like that would actually make more sense in my mind than what the current idea looks like, where again I don't understand this idea of having Season 41 as a newbie season just to go back to an all-star season. For me, it would be much better to have 2 all-star seasons in a row and then a streak of newbie seasons, but who knows what's actually going to happen here. But yeah, I did do a similar video to this around the time that Survivor 40 was announced that it was going to be an all-star season. Obviously, we didn't know it was going to be all winners at the time, but I went through every single season, talked about who I think could be getting the call there, and we're going to do a similar thing here. Obviously, it's been a year since then. There are new sort of dynamics going on here, new people that we can talk about, and just some updates in general. Though, to be honest, this list is going to be somewhat similar to what it was last year. But let's get into it. Let's talk about who I think can be getting the call. Starting off with Survivor Borneo, and from Survivor Borneo, I don't feel like there are many people left that production really wants. I think the big one's obviously Greg. I think Greg is someone that production's been wanting back for a while. They've asked him back almost every time, and he's either said no or he just couldn't get the time off for it. I do think Greg is someone that I could see being back if everything aligned. Now, will everything align? Probably not. But I feel like if this was a second chance season, I feel like it's very likely that Greg will at least get the call. Continuing on with Australian Outback here, I do think people like a Colby and a Jerry are possible returnees if it's not going to be a second chance season. Now, it is looking very likely that's going to be a second chance season. I would bet for a second chance season, but if it's not, I could see there being a likelihood of someone like a Colby or Jerry returning. From Survivor Africa, I think, again, second chance candidates here. I think T-Bird and I think Kelly Goldsmith are 2 very big contenders here. Obviously, T-Bird was on the last ballot. However, I don't know if production really wants her back now. I feel like the fact that she didn't get voted on back then, and also it's been obviously a very long time since her season, I'm not sure if they still want her back. I would like to see it. Kelly Goldsmith, she was asked for 31, had to turn it down. She's been asked for multiple seasons in the past as well. I wouldn't see why she wouldn't be asked for this season. I feel like she's a much better candidate for a second chance source season, so I would like to see her back, and I do think it's somewhat likely that she at least gets the call. From Survivor Marquesas and from Survivor Thailand, I didn't really include anyone. There was just no one there that I feel like production is super apt to have back, especially considering Boston Rob just came back. I mean, I could see him getting the call because obviously production loves Boston Rob, but I mean, outside of that, I don't think it's particularly likely. Any of the people from Survivor 40, I don't think are going to be back for this next season. I just don't see the point. I mean, we just had them on the most epic season of Survivor ever. Why are we going to have them back again less than a year later? It just feels like a strange idea to me. But now to the Amazon, where we have someone that's a bit interesting, and that is Rob Cesternino. And this is the thing. There was actually a leak that came out the day before Redman posted his stuff, and this other person had very similar information. This was actually the same person that leaked All Winners initially. And while they've gotten some information wrong in terms of casting for All Winners, and based on their information, they're saying that Rob Cesternino is someone that production wants to have back, and that if Rob Cesternino does decide to come back, that they're willing to drop the second chance theme in order to go into a more general thing to accommodate for Rob Cesternino. And I don't know how true this is. I to be honest, it seems very far-fetched, as it feels like, why is CBS that invested in Rob Cesternino? I mean, obviously, Rob Cesternino is a major figure in the Survivor community at this point. But really, though, it doesn't feel very realistic for CBS to go out of their way to get him on a season. like the casuals won't remember him. It just feels like a strange concept to me, but if this is true, that is very interesting. And Rob Cesternino has been more open to returning more recently. It's just, I don't feel like it's particularly likely, though. And I still feel like I would rather have a second chance, too, than any sort of general all-star season. But he is someone that I could very likely be seeing getting the call, as he was called for Survivor 34. And obviously is rumored to be in the mix now. From Pro Islands, I didn't really consider that many people. Obviously, Sandra, I don't think we're going to be seeing Sandra again right away. It just seems weird. But I would like to see a Burton. I think Burton is someone that, while he hasn't really been in the mix for a while, I could see him being a second chance sort of candidate. Because when it comes to second chance candidates, they did try to go into some older seasons and bring back some people from the early seasons, like a Savage or like a Kimmy Kappenberg or Jeff Varner and that sort of thing. I feel like Burton can be one of those figures. But again, it's not really guaranteed. From Vanuatu, the only person I really think would be considered here is Twila, kind of for a similar thing to Burton. She was someone that was actually in the casting pool for a little while. I believe she was in the Blood vs. Water casting pool. She was definitely in the Heroes vs. Villains casting pool. She was in the Fans vs. Favorites casting pool. I do think she's someone that production had their eye on at some point. I just don't know if they still do now. But if they do try to reach back and can't get some of the people that they want, I could see Twila being on a ballot. From Survivor Palau, I would consider a Stephanie for, again, a non-second chance season. Someone that has talked about how she wouldn't mind returning, and she's someone that is obviously a major figure in terms of Survivor. The big one from this season, though, for me is Ian. I think Ian is a lock to return if he wanted to come back. The problem is he doesn't want to come back. He's been asked almost every season, has said no every time. He did a AMA on Reddit where he still said that he doesn't want to come back. I don't think we're ever going to see him again. I would like to see it, though. I didn't put anyone from Guatemala because I don't think anyone from Guatemala has a shot of coming back, so let's move on. From Panama, there are some repeat players I think we could see again. I think Danielle Di Lorenzo was someone that was supposedly in the casting pool for Survivor 38, which is a really strange thing. So I wouldn't be that surprised if they decide to bring her back for, again, a non-second chance season. Suri is obviously Suri. So, I mean, again, non-second chance, I think that's a very good likelihood. And same thing with Terry. I think Terry is someone that obviously had a weird exit in Cambodia. So I think he's someone that we could see again, but I just don't know if 42 is the right time for it. From Cook Islands, there's not really many people left. I mean, Cook Islands, obviously Yul and Parvati have played in 40. Ozzy is someone that production doesn't really want to come back. Obviously, CBS can force their hand and bring him back like they did with Game Changers, but I don't really see them actively wanting to bring Ozzy back. Penner is someone that has a lot of family stuff going on right now, so I don't think he's going to be back. From Fiji, I think the only person at this point that will ever come back from Fiji is Earl. And I think Earl is someone that, out of all the winners that weren't on Survivor 40, I think he's one of the few that I could see coming back at some point. He was in the casting pool for 34. He was obviously in the casting pool for 40. I mean, he had some personal stuff going on at that point, so it was very obvious why he wasn't back. But I think Earl is someone that I could see returning at some point. So again, if it's not second chance sort of season, I could see Earl in the casting pool. Survivor 15, not really anyone. I don't think anyone's really on production's radar anymore. I think Amanda and James, again, could come back if they go for grander theme, but I don't really feel like it's super likely, so really no one here. Survivor Micronesia, I think Eric is someone that I could see again back for like probably a bigger theme. I don't think that's what they're going to go with, though. Someone I do think can be on a second chance ballot is Natalie Bolton. Natalie Bolton is someone that they've been wanting back for a while. She's always been like an alternate or cut the last second or had to turn it down. But Natalie Bolton is someone that I think is due for a return at some point. It's just a matter of when. From Gabon, I don't really feel like anyone from Gabon is particularly likely. I think probably the most likely person at this point is Kenny, but I just don't see why they would bring him back at this point. From Tocantins, Taj is someone that they've asked back every time. I know he says no. I wouldn't be surprised if they ask her back again, but I think she's going to say no. Again, for a grander theme, I think someone like a coach is someone that they would definitely ask back, and I could see him saying yes, but I think it's unlikely that they're going to go in a legend sort of route, so I don't really see him being back. From 19, not really anyone. I mean, Shambo's probably the biggest contender there, where, again, they've asked Shambo back a billion times. She always says no. Like, obviously, if she decided to say yes for some reason, she would probably be at least in the running. I just don't think it's likely. Now, I think Marty is probably the only person from Nicaragua that I could see coming back at this point. I think Marty even himself is getting a bit older in age. I mean, he's kind of reaching the point where it's either going to happen at 42 or probably never again. But I would like to see Marty back. I think he's definitely someone that's going to at least get called, and we'll see where it goes from there. 22. I mean, there's a lot of people actually here that I think would at least be considered. I mean, Andrea is someone that obviously production loves, and I wouldn't be surprised to see her play for a 4th time, but I don't think this is going to be the season for it. Stephanie Valencia and Natalie Tenorelli were both in the running for Survivor Cambodia, and I wouldn't be surprised at a Nat 10 return at some point. I mean, I don't think it's particularly likely, but I wouldn't be like mind blown if she's on the ballot again. Stephanie Valencia, I think her time's probably passed at this point. And I wouldn't be that surprised if someone like Ashley Underwood was also on a ballot, though, I mean, to be fair, I think there's probably a better version of her from a later season. Then moving on to South Pacific, obviously Cochran is someone that they're going to ask back. You already know that. He's going to say no. Again, if he's not in all winners, there's no way he's going to say yes to any other season, so not likely to see him back. I think Jim and Michaela were obviously in the running for second chance, and I think Jim Rice would be a lot of fun. I love Jim Rice. I would love to see him play again. I do think his time has passed, though, sadly. From One World, I think the only two that are really going to be considered are Sabrina and Chelsea, but I do think they're actually very likely returnees. I mean, they're people that have always been in the casting pool for every single All-Star season since then. They're both in the running there. I mean, I see no reason why they wouldn't be in the running once again, though I do think if they get passed on for much longer, I do think their time is going to slip away. 25. Okay, we got some people here. We got Malcolm, we got Abby Maria. I think two people that are very likely to return at some point if it's not a second chance season, but again, I'm leaning towards it is, so I don't think we'll see them back, but I personally would love to see both of them back. I think Pete seems like a pretty good sort of second chance candidate. I mean, there's no real proof behind this. He hasn't really been in the casting pool, but he just seems like the type of person that would be on a second chance ballot. Jeff Kent and RC have both turned down other returns at points, so I don't think they're particularly likely at this point. From Caramoan, I don't really feel like anyone has a shot anymore. I mean, I would love a Reynolds return. I do think Reynolds is probably the most likely returnee out of the bunch there, but outside of Blood versus Water, I don't believe anyone from Caramoan has really been considered to be brought back. So I don't think it's likely, but I would like to see a Reynolds return. From Blood versus Water, I think there's a few people here. I think obviously Sierra is someone that production loves, but again, I don't think it's likely for this season. Hayden is someone that, again, I just find it strange that he hasn't been in the casting pool more often. I mean, supposedly he was in the running for Cambodia, but the fact that he wasn't chosen for Cambodia is really weird. So I just have some hesitancy there, but I could see him being in the running this time. John Cody and Brad Culpepper are two people who have always been in the casting pool since their original season. Obviously, Brad Culpepper was on Game Changers, and I do feel like Brad Culpepper, if it's not a second chance season, is a very likely returnee. From Survivor Cagayan, I think someone like a Spencer is, again, another lock to be asked back. I just don't think he's going to say yes. I think Spencer's very clearly out of like the Survivor sort of world, so I don't feel like he wants to come back. LJ and Alexis and Cliff and Jatia are all people who have been asked back in the past. LJ and Alexis have been asked back as recently as Game Changers, and I do think there are people that are still on production's radar. I don't feel like they're realistic returnees, though. I feel like better versions of their archetypes have appeared on later seasons, so I don't think they are likely to play again, but I could see them at least getting the call. From San Juan del Sur, I think there's a couple people. There's John Mish. I think John Mish is another one that's been in the casting pool every time. Still likely returning at this point. And then also Josh Canfield. I also someone that I can see them bringing back. I think he would be a good spot on a second chance sort of ballot, but I don't think it's a guarantee. Survivor 30, I think the obvious one here is Carolyn Rivera. I mean, Carolyn is someone that production's been wanting back for a very long time. They always decide to cut her at the last second. Last time she was cut, Jeff Probst even said himself, you're definitely going to be on a future season. I don't see any reason why she wouldn't be on the next All-Star season. And another person that they love from Survivor 30 is So Kim. And I never really understood it. I mean, it seems like So Kim has been in the running for 31. She was in the running for 34. It just seems like production really likes her for some reason. So yeah, I do think there is a scenario where she does get asked back, but do I think it's likely she makes it on the season? Probably not. Now we're getting to the more recent seasons, which from this point on, it's a lot tougher to grasp who production really wants back, as there haven't been as many all-star seasons with these people to really gather information on who production wants back or not, but these are just my guesses here. So from Co-Wrong, I think someone like a Ty is a lock to return if the theme permits. I think Ty is someone that production really likes. I think he's someone that's always going to play hard. I think he's someone that could return, but again, not for second chance, obviously. Sydney is someone that production obviously likes as well. I don't think she's going to say yes. If she does say yes, then cool. I think she would probably be on a second chance ballot or something like that, but more than likely she's going to say no. There are people like a Julia or a Nick who I wouldn't mind seeing back, but there's no real proof on production actually wanting them back. Peter was someone that was in the running for Game Changers for some reason, but I do think his time's kind of passed. Anna is someone that production really liked at the time, but again, I just feel like time has kind of passed for her. I feel like there are better options nowadays than her, but if she was on a ballot, I wouldn't be that surprised. Now from 33, we have a lot of people actually, surprisingly. We have Hannah. I think Hannah is someone that production liked. I wouldn't be surprised if they called her. I just don't think she wants to come back, so I don't think that's particularly likely. And a similar thing with Zeek. I think Zeek is someone that production would really want back, but I don't feel like he wants to play again. I think Brett is someone that actively really wants to come back. I don't know if production's that interested in having him back, especially since he was put on The Amazing Race. I think Jay is someone that is interesting, where if it was Jay before he decided to do the challenge, I would say he's a lock. I think he's someone that production liked at the time and is someone that it's kind of mind-blowing that he hasn't been backed yet. But the fact that he was on the challenge, it's kind of like a weird thing now where I don't know what they really want to do with him. I could see a Jessica Lewis return. I don't think it's particularly likely, but I wouldn't be that surprised if she was on like a second chance ballot. Figgy and Mari are pretty early boots. I do think were pretty notable at the time. I feel like Figgy is a more likely returnee than Mari for me. I feel like she's more active in the Survivor community. I feel like she's someone that had more of a storyline for a return, but seeing either of them on a second chance ballot wouldn't be that surprising. Now from 35, again, a good amount of people here actually. I mean, Chrissy is someone that I think production would want back. Now, would they want both her and Carolyn on the same cast? I don't know. But obviously, they did really like Chrissy at the time, so I wouldn't be surprised to see her back. People like Orion or Dr. Mike are people that I'm not really sure where production really stands with them, so those could go either way. Devin Pinto is someone that has said that he doesn't want to return unless it's a blood versus water season with his mom, which, again, that's such a weird condition. So I don't really see him coming back. Ashley Nolan has always been kind of a dark horse pick for me. I feel like she's someone that wasn't a major figure on her season, but is someone that I could see being like a Sierra Dawn Thomas, where they just randomly end up on an all-star season. Lauren Rimmer, someone that I would like to see return. I think she's someone that was a major factor on that season, but I do feel like as time has gone on, I feel like she's kind of starting to get forgotten, but I could see her at least being on a ballot. Joe Mena is an interesting figure in Survivor at this point. Again, I don't know how production really feels about him anymore, but I do feel like they really liked him at the time, so I could see him being in consideration. Earlier boots like Jessica, Allie, and Alan, I think they're pretty big figures that I could see being on a second chance ballot. But I think on any other sort of season, I don't feel like they have a good shot of returning. Now from Survivor Ghost Island, I think one of the bigger locks on the board is Dominic. I feel like Dominic would know that he's going to be a major threat on any season he returns to, so I don't know if he really wants to come back. But I mean, if he gets the call, I feel like it's very unlikely that he says no, so I don't know. I think it's very likely we'll see Dominic back on TV. I think Donathan would at least get the call. I don't know if he'll make the cut. I think Kellen will at least get the call. See how that goes. Michael Yerger, I think, is a lock. I think he's one that was obviously a fan favorite at the time, someone that production really liked. I think he has a good story for a return. I think he's pretty much a guaranteed on this next season, especially if it's a second chance season. Chris Noble would be a lot of fun. I just don't know how production really feels about him now. I feel like he's someone that could get ignored for some future seasons, but who really knows? And Jacob Derwin is someone that I could see being like on a second chance ballot, but I don't think it's particularly likely that he plays again. Survivor David versus Goliath. We got Angelina, who I would say is a lock. However, she's pregnant, so probably not very likely to be on season 42. Davey Christian, I think both of them are locks if they want to return. I think Davey is pretty much a lock to be on the season. Like, no matter what it is, I would be very surprised if Davey's not on it. Christian, I think it really comes down to whether he can get the time off, and I don't think he can, if I'm being honest. So I would not be surprised if he doesn't make the cut, but it would be really cool to see him back. Gabby is someone that I know production really liked, and I could see them bringing her back. Dan is someone that was also well liked by production. I think they also liked the Idol Nullifier stuff there, so I could see him being brought back because of that. But to be honest, I don't feel like I personally need it. Natalie Cole's another one that production obviously really loved as well. She was such a major character. I don't know if she makes the cut for an all-star season, but it would be very interesting. Then we got Pat Cusick, someone that was obviously medevac at the beginning of the game. I think he has a story to where they would think about bringing him back. I just don't know if he makes the cut. Now from Edge of Extinction, we got a few people here. I can see someone like a Julie as a possible returnee, but I feel like her archetype's kind of full already. I don't feel like we really need her. Rick Devens is obviously a lock. I think there's no way they do another All-Star season without Rick Devens. So I think that's going to happen. Lauren, Victoria, I feel like they're two people that were kind of under-edited on their season, but them returning wouldn't be that big of a surprise for me. Ron and War Dog were obviously major factors on that season, really big players. I could see them definitely getting the call as well. Reem is someone that I think is pretty much guaranteed to at least get the call. I mean, production loved Reem, it seemed like, and I could see her being brought back for a second chance sort of season, but really outside of that, I don't know if she really makes the cut. Then also Wendy. I think Wendy is someone, despite quitting on Edge of Extinction, I feel like she's someone that production would at least consider. I don't feel like she really makes the cut at the end of the day. Now for the final season to talk about, we got Island of the Idols, and I actually have a long list here, surprisingly. So let's go through it. I think Dean is someone that was a lot of fun in the end game. I think he's someone that could be considered. I think he kind of, to be honest, probably takes John Mish's spot as a casting archetype, but maybe they already have too many people from Island of the Idols, so they don't put him on. I don't know. But I think Dean is someone that could at least be considered. Nora, I think, is a near lock. I think it's very likely they bring Nora back. She was just such a massive character that I feel like it would be very surprising if she's not on another season. Lauren Beck is someone that Jeff Probst has talked about that he loves. I would be surprised if she doesn't return at some point. I don't know if now is the right time. Again, I feel like we're at a point where there's so many people to bring back from the season that you can't have more than like 4 or 5 people from one season on this cast. It'll be ridiculous. So I feel like solely because of that, Lauren might get cut, but I think she's definitely a contender to be there. Janet is someone that, if I'm being completely honest, I don't feel like I need to see Janet play again. I feel like if she does play again, she'll play very similarly to how she did last time. I feel like we pretty much got what we're going to get from Janet. But she was obviously a fan favorite. I feel like she's someone that's definitely going to at least be considered, and I could see her very likely making the cut. And same thing with Elaine. I feel like Elaine is a shoo-in. I think she's guaranteed to be on the next season of All-Stars. Like, I think it'll be very surprising if she's not. Karishma is someone that I could see being considered. I think the problem with Karishma is I very likely see her saying no. I feel like she didn't have the greatest experience her first time. I don't feel like she wants to do it again, but obviously I could be wrong. I feel like Missy is someone that should have been a lock. She played the game so aggressively and was a major factor on that season, but at the same time, she did get a lot of negative reception after the season, so I'm not entirely sure if she's still willing to come back and if production's still willing to bring her back, but I feel like if they are, I could see her being in contention. I personally would like to see an Aaron return. I thought Aaron was a fascinating character on his season. I don't think it's as likely right now. Seasons down the road, once they've gotten a lot of the IOI people back, I feel like maybe then they could tap into him. But I feel like for now, there's probably just too many people from this season. Jamal, I feel like, is a very likely returnee. I feel like he's someone that production very clearly liked. I think he's someone that is very elegant with his words, a very good storyteller. I think he's a very likely returnee, but I don't think he's like a 100% lock on the board, but I do think it is very likely. Kelly is someone that I also think is very likely. Jeff Probst himself has said that he would like to see Kelly back. I think the only thing that would stop her from being brought back is the entire dance situation and them wanting to like kind of put it under the rug. But I feel like they made it pretty open of how they handled the IOI finale, that's not really the approach that they're taking, and thankfully they're not taking that approach. So I do think a Kelly return is very likely then. And then last, we got a couple pre-mergers who I think could be on like a second chance ballot. I think Jason and I think Chelsea. But even then, I don't think it's particularly likely. I think Chelsea's fighting for the same position as a lot of other people. And Jason, I just feel like, why are they going to bring him back when they can bring back like a Rick Devens? So, yeah. Obviously, Survivor 41, if it does end up airing before 42, then we could see some returnees from there. They'll probably leave 2 spots open for that cast as they did with Game Changers, but obviously that's something I can't really predict. So yeah, those are all the people that I think can be in consideration. I think the final cast of 18 or 20, more than likely 20, will more than likely be a combination of that group, maybe like 1 or 2 people off, because there have been some surprises in the past. Namely with Cambodia, again, if this is a second chance too, I do think we're likely to see a couple surprises on there. Again, like at the time of Cambodia, I was not expecting to see someone like a Savage back again, or a Varner, or a Kimmy Kappenberg. So that could very likely happen again, but for now, obviously, I would have no clue if that were to happen. So there we go. That's essentially who I think could be in the running for Survivor 42. Obviously, if we get more information on the cast and everything, I'll be doing a video when that eventually does come out. But for now, that's all I got to say about Survivor 42. So thank you for watching.